wanna play a game?
You know what that means. Welcome to Mr. Teach Film Preach. Don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to my channel for more content. Also, comment down below, what did you think of Saw 10? Are you a fan of the Saw franchise? What is your favorite Saw film? I would love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Thanks so much for doing that. Today we're talking about the 2023 horror sequel film in the franchise, Saw 10. Set between Saw 1 and Saw 2, a sick and dying desperate John Kramer, aka Jigsaw, travels to Mexico for a risky and experimental medical procedure in hopes of a miracle cure, only to be scammed and defrauded. Now armed with a newfound purpose, John returns to his work and turns the tables against the con artist in his signature visceral way through a series of ingenious and horrifying traps.
Hello, everyone. It's time to play a game.
I'm gonna first of all start off and say I'm not the biggest fan of the Saw franchise. Like, I don't mind it, but I'm not a fan of it, you know?
What the damn hell?
I've seen the first 4 Saw movies, Spiral, and then now Saw 10. Pretty much like 5, 6, 7, Jigsaw, I haven't seen. I just don't really care for them that much. So when I saw that Saw 10 was coming out, I didn't care. I was like, all right, I'll go see it because I got a review channel and I'm gonna have to review it at some point. And I was surprised how well this movie is compared to the other films. Now, I'm not gonna say this is a great movie because it's, you know, it's not. But I was quite surprised. I didn't think I was going to have this good of a time with the movie. One thing I particularly loved about this movie is that John Kramer is front and center in this film. This is from his perspective. It is his story. It's his character development that we really get to see in this movie, and I love that. The reason I enjoy Saw 2, and maybe I enjoy Saw 2 a bit more than the first Saw, I'm not quite sure on that yet.
That proves my point. You're a crazy person.
I think why I enjoy Saw 2 so much is because John Kramer is, again, almost at the front and center of the film. Like, it's really focused on him. Again, with this film, this is who I'm interested in. I don't really care that much about everyone else, including Amanda, his sidekick. I want to see John Kramer. I want to see his life and his story and where he comes from and his background and why he became Jigsaw and the way he did. And I want to be clear, this movie doesn't like sympathize with John. We're not supposed to be like, oh, poor John or anything like that. But you do see where he's coming from and what has kind of made him who he is and why he continues to do the work that he does after the first Saw movie. This movie is his most personal film. It's his most personal sort of retribution, revenge, and reawakening, as he calls it in the trailer.
This is not retribution. It's a reawakening.
So there is that element to it, but while at the still time, getting us to know more about John Kramer, really seeing what makes him tick, and I loved that they focused that on in this movie. I thought the story was one of the best out of all the films that I've seen in the Saw franchise. I actually enjoyed the story in this movie. Like, it's really a revenge film. It's like Saw if Jigsaw went like John Wick style on a bunch of people who have scammed him and done him wrong and finds them and takes them down. Like, that is this movie. And I love that for a Saw movie. Like, what a great concept.
Thanks.
I'm not going to say that this is a brilliantly written film because it's not, but this again is another one of those movies that it is pretty self-contained. It's set mostly within like one location. It doesn't really leave this compound once you're there. Great, smart filmmaking, keeping it simple, but while telling an intriguing story. At least intriguing enough for a Saw movie. I thought the directing was great by Kevin Greutert. Yes, there were some gnarly kills and there's some really gross, disturbing scenes. Of course there is. It's a Saw movie. That is expected. But I love how much heart and passion he put into this project when it clearly doesn't need to be like this. It doesn't need to be as good as this film is. And I just appreciate that you could tell that he worked really hard with his team. And the traps themselves in this movie are awesome and they do stand out above others throughout the franchise, and I thought that was excellent. There were some like actual legit good twists and turns in this film too. It wasn't as straightforward as I thought it was going to be. This movie just, it moves at such a great pace because the first 30 minutes you go on this journey of false hope with Jigsaw, with John Kramer, and then when that's taken away you kind of like get on his side of like, yeah, Get them, John Kramer. Go get them, Jigsaw. But they have to do that so you can get invested in the emotional and the journey of John Kramer. My biggest qualm about this movie is it's a Saw film, so it's not going to be, the most amazing filmmaking I've ever seen. Just a good, solid horror, gore kind of film. I didn't find this movie particularly scary.
He gets ya!
Now, I don't think I necessarily go to a Saw movie to be scared. It's more like to be grossed out and like, a little squeamish. But the first Saw movie, and even Saw 2 and 3, were actually kind of frightening at parts. I didn't find this movie frightening. And then you kind of root for John Kramer, which I kind of have issues with. I'm like, I don't know if John Kramer's a protagonist that I want to be rooting for necessarily. Yeah, like, it's hard for me to get on the side of like, I'm cheering for John Kramer, go Jigsaw, get them. But that's like a personal qualm. That's not necessarily anything wrong with the movie and the filmmaking itself. So I'm not into it as much as other people are. And if other people are into it, like, good for you, good on you. I hope you have fun and you love these kind of films, because everyone needs to have their own thing. This just isn't really necessarily mine. Just want to remind everyone to click that like button and subscribe to my channel for more content. Also, while you're there, comment down below, what did you think of Saw 10? Are you a fan of this franchise? What is your favorite of the Saw films? Thank you so much for doing that. So overall, I had a good time with this movie. It is entertaining. It was quite surprising, actually, how entertained by this movie I was. While the concept was interesting and the story I thought was original enough and fresh enough to get my attention and to sit there in the theater the whole time, I had a pretty good time. I think if you're a fan of this franchise, you're really going to love this movie, and you might think this is actually one of your favorite horror films of the year. Lovers of this franchise, definitely go check out this film in theaters. So overall, I'm gonna go ahead and give Saw 10 a solid B. Thank you so much for checking out Mr. Teach Film Preach. Come back and check out some other videos like Dumb Money, the sci-fi film The Creator, and A Haunting in Venice. Have a great day, everyone. Stay focused, stay awesome, and as always, let's get taught.